accomplish this disinformation campaign, they've hired public relations firms like the Bravo Group, whose stated goal was to neutralize opposition. So the marketing materials, like what Bill has, that's produced by Sunoco, is designed to accomplish a specific objective. This is not unbiased material. It's marketing material aimed at a specific goal. And so what I would suggest, I'm a little bit bothered sometimes when I see townships posting this marketing material on their websites. Given that this is hardly neutral material, it's Sunoco's marketing material with a particular objective in mind. So what I would suggest is either for municipalities not to host this material on their websites, or to offer equal space to information produced by citizens groups oriented towards safety and well-being of the community.
I have a question on that, if I could, Eric. When you're saying it's misinformation, willful misinformation, and the townships are hosting it to, in our thoughts, get information out to the citizens, it almost sounds like we're better off not, or us or other townships, putting it on the websites, but then we're not getting all of the information out to the residents. Is that a fair assumption?
Well, I guess there's a balance to be struck. I'll give you an example. Over the July 4th weekend last year, Sunoco distributed a flyer that frankly was what I'll just call disinformation. It was marketing material. And the Middletown Coalition for Community Safety put together a detailed point-by-point response to that. They provided the rest of the missing information, or the rest of the information. I don't know that I'm not suggesting anything specific with any specific piece of information, just offering that as a consideration. That if you're just hosting Sunoco provided material, I suppose that's information of a sort, but it's worth keeping in mind the source and the objective of that material. It's hardly independent. It's being put out by the company. It's professionally designed by a company that's effectively engaging in campaign-style techniques and tactics against people to achieve a goal. So I think if you're going to provide that information, if you decide that that's useful, that's your business, your decision. But perhaps something to consider is then to provide space for a citizens group to provide the counter to that.
You could add a disclaimer that this is from Sunoco and that means some of the conclusions have not been proven, or et cetera, so that the public knows that.
And I'd add to in support of what Eric and Bernie are saying, is that it's very artful omission of information. And so you cannot depend. It's almost aiding and abetting to offer that information as complete information.
Can I make one comment, if you don't mind? Because if we're really going to look to put that type of information up, let's look at the facts from FERC, DEP, and the PUC at the West Whiteland meeting. So here's the facts that they brought up. I didn't make this up. There's no agency in Pennsylvania to approve siting pipelines. There's no specific requirements to repurpose the pipeline. Sunoco is responsible for monitoring the pipeline for leaks. Sunoco performs a risk assessment. Sunoco performs the integrity management studies. Sunoco develops the emergency awareness plan, and Sunoco determines the radius of buffers or blast zones. So those are the facts coming from those agencies. So if we're going to put anything up to educate the public, that should be up there, because how many people in this room from East Goshen feel comfortable knowing that the fox is guarding the hen house? Period.
If I could, sorry, just add one thing. Something that I think is an obvious statement, and one that we're all concerned about, that I think bears repeating, is that the potential damage to our other existing utilities is very real. In East Goshen yesterday, there was a water main break. I don't know what caused that, and that's not my area of expertise, but it was adjacent to where the burr hole is, near the construction site right next to it. So that's not me saying that there's a definite correlation, and yet it underscores that as we have this operator that is coming through this area and really just train wrecking through this area and unwilling to follow safe procedures, we should be protecting our other utilities and be very vigilant about them. And so Sunoco is quick when other things have been damaged to discredit any evidence that it was, a result of their construction. And I would say if there are any opportunities to be more vigilant for the existing utilities that run near and adjacent to the construction and to the existing pipeline, to Mariner 1, it would be something that would help.
That's one thing that East Goshen can do, at least for our township. Our Public Works Director, Mark Miller, is here very early in the morning and probably saw it at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think East Goshen can be diligent with any problems that we have with utilities, is go back to the utility company and find out what the cause was. It's a matter of a phone call. And Mark knows all those guys anyway.
As all of this vibration has occurred, and many of us have been near the drilling, as the vibration and the sound is unbelievable. Again, I'm not an engineer, I just want to make that clear. There has to be some kind of concern related to that on our utilities, particularly our aging utilities. And so these are questions that the municipalities can raise that maybe I, as a citizen, someone's going to ignore right away, but maybe you would be forced to get an answer, would be able to force an answer in some way and do something about it.
Okay. 15 minutes to go. If you don't use it all. I'm gonna just ask if there anything else that we need. I think your summary, a couple other things, and we've got minutes and notes, and we're gonna get together and go through all that and kind of make the list. So that was really, thank you. Anything else from the panel before we leave it about Sure.
So I just two very quick things that occurred to me. First of all, on this greenfield business, Sunoco paralleled existing right-of-ways in large part. They actually took new properties, so they took new greenfield. It happened to be adjacent in a lot of cases to existing property, but there's a little bit of a fiction here, maybe part of the disinformation that I'm talking about, is that they stayed within existing right-of-ways. That's just not the case. They took new greenfield without evaluating whether that particular route was the best from a safety standpoint. In terms of risk, a lot of people have heard me say this before, risk can be assessed in terms of consequences and probability. It doesn't take much to convince most people that an accident involving NGLs is probably going to be at the top of whatever your consequences scale are. So you turn to probability and you try to do some kind of assessment of the probability of continued Sunoco leaks. Sunoco likes to say, or to say a lot, that they're a safe operator. That term has no objective meaning, has no scientific meaning at all. It's like me having totaled 3 cars in the last year saying I'm a safe driver. The fact is, Sunoco's had 300 leaks from their pipeline, 300 hazardous liquids leaks from their pipeline systems since 2006. So that's something north of 2 per month on average. In fact, while we were in Harrisburg last Thursday, during the hearing, listening to Sunoco's paid expert say what a safe company Sunoco was, residents of Oklahoma City were experiencing Sunoco's 301st hazardous liquid pipeline leak. Right? So that's the kind of information I think people should have, is that while this hearing was going on, Sunoco had yet another in a long string of accidents. Mary's one, as folks know here, has leaked 3 times in less than a year. And so, one other quick thing on federal violations. I don't know if folks here are aware, in January 2018, Sunoco received 3 separate enforcement actions from the federal government. 3 in 1 month. That may be a record. I've not found another company that received 3 federal enforcement actions in 1 month. One of those violations had to do, one of those enforcement actions had to do with construction violations on Mariner 2. I don't know if supervisors are aware of that, but as best I can tell reading the enforcement action, a PHMSA inspector happened to come along and found them in the process of burying damaged pipe sections, burying these 2 pipe sections. That was January 2018 when that enforcement action was issued. The last time Sunoco received federal enforcement action having to do with pipeline construction was in April 2016 in Texas, when the federal government found that Sunoco had used unqualified welders and an unqualified welding procedure to make more than 3,000 welds on a pipeline called the Permian Express 2 in Texas. That was April 2016. That pipeline failed in August of 2016. To me, from my background and my training, that failure of the PEX 2 pipeline was utterly predictable. And yet, the pipeline was put in service anyway. The other interesting thing about the PEX 2 accident is it took 11 days for Sunoco to confirm that the pipeline was leaking and actually shut it down. So they continued to operate the pipeline for 11 days after they had initial indications that there was something wrong. That pipeline eventually leaked self-reported 360,000 gallons of hazardous liquids. Now, I'm just saying, that was a hazardous liquids pipeline. There was construction violations. That pipeline, a couple months later, ruptured. January 2018, again, there's construction violations related to Mary Louise 2. Now, my real point is that is the kind of information that might, perhaps, should be made available to the public on a township website.
That's fact check. Sorry.
I would like to thank you all for coming, and I've been taking copious notes, and we will definitely discuss it. Unfortunately, I cannot stay for the rest of the meeting when the public has, I'm sure, some very valuable things to say, but I have to get my granddaughter, and she has to get to bed. That's the priority. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your very instructive comments, and we will continue to work.
And thank you.
Thanks, Jan. Yeah, okay. I will repeat what Janet said. Thank you to the panel. So we're going to open the microphone for public comment. What we'll ask you to do is just the same way we do in all public meetings, come up to the microphone because we are, there's a live streaming of this so that we can hear you and know who you are for our minutes. Public meeting will take minutes as well. We're required to do so. We need to know who you are. I'm going to ask you, again, repeat the same thing we talked about earlier. This is a public comment period. We're going to listen. I ask you to be instructive and help us understand what we need to do as a township to help our residents. So because of the time we have, if you can kind of try to limit to 3 minutes, that would be wonderful.
This would be helpful for us. How many people plan to say something? 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. If you keep it somewhere in that time frame, we're going to be in good shape. David made it important point. The comments or questions may be raised to us, or they may be raised to any of the panel. If they're raised to us, we will capture them and respond just like we have to everything else. Oh, excuse me. So, I didn't say it. I will try to keep track of the time, and it's not that I want to be a guru here. I don't want to be a Gestapo, but we want to see if we can get as many people up here as we possibly can. Go ahead. See if the microphones want to together. No, just there's a button there. Eric. It's all good.
Okay, Charlie Williams, Middletown.
You can turn it right up to you, or pick it up and hold it.
How do you get a street address?
Yeah, 248 Lenai, Middletown. The biggest thing I want to bring to your attention, I find it's not the pipeline, it's the product. And if we can change the ethane to ethanol, it can be converted to alcohol and can be also used as a feedstock for plastic. And it can come through at 600 psi. And it's a simple steam reaction to change it. So it's alcohol is the answer. Look it up, Google it. This isn't coming from off the top of my head. People with backgrounds have been supporting this issue. So just take time out, and that's the biggest alternative I can find. And you guys, with your background, you can nail it down and make it work.
Can I ask you a question? You're saying in a layman's terms, you're saying that where the Marcella gas comes out of the ground, if they were to somehow steam it, or do whatever you're saying, process it somehow, that would then change the characteristics of the gas, of the liquid?
The ethane to ethanol. We currently import ethanol from China. We have an abundance of it. Refineries are going out of business because of surtaxes, because they can't blend the ethanol locally. But just the thing I want to bring to mind, we're building 5 scrubbers out in Pittsburgh on the way to Marcus Hook. The steam on the economizer side of each scrubber, they're going to be generating the power using ethane as a fuel. So the pipeline's already going there to the scrubber. Let's take the economizer side, run the rest of the ethane through it, convert it to alcohol, ship it to Marcus Hook, ship it to Scotland, and it's reversible. They can bring it back to ethane if they want to. So this is the only reasonable answer I have found, and I've been on top of it since 2 years with the Middletown Coalition. So it's just coming off the top of my head now. These are people with backgrounds that are recommending this.
Is that an alternative that the ones that know more than me have heard, or that's the first I'm hearing of anything like that?
Well, I brought it up at a few different, like the West Whiteland meeting. I brought it up to Andy Dittman, and he brought it to Carolyn's attention, with your background. He said, well, that he would like to put that on Carolyn's plate. You know,
I wonder what the cost is.
2 cents a barrel. That's the top of the head. And
To convert?
to convert. 2 cents a barrel, and that's the fat end of it. You know, they can streamline that with 2 years into production. They can certainly make that cost benefit there.
We can check into that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's interesting, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Next. Just want to keep everybody moving here. Who's next? There comes one. Brave soul.
Oh, brave soul.
Oh, you made your mind up.
I did.
Like that.
Everett Warren, 540 Bowman Circle. I happen to, the pipeline happened to go across my property in the back on 352. So I appreciate everything that everyone says on the safety aspects of it. This is absolutely wonderful. The meeting is very informative. And I've been one of those who also, kind of participate in some of the meetings and come here and say my piece every so often. The question that I have now, though, is I have a beautiful backyard that I can't do anything in because I have my wonderful wooden fence that are up there. So does anybody know when they are going to run the pipe? And I don't care whether they're running the stuff in there, yes or no at this point, but it's horrible. I can't sit on my deck. Does anybody have any idea when they will complete this pipe?
I can answer the question really fast.
Yes.
Ricky checked into this.
Okay.
As best we know, they claim they're going to start in June. We don't know if it's the beginning of June, the middle of June, the end of June. They just said June. That may or may not turn out to be a reality. That's all we know.
For what? The 20-inch pipe
to start
or
the
the
process.
16-inch pipe?
To start, well,
They said they're 98%.
I don't want to go into it too far because I don't want to
Okay.
take people, but
Thank you.
at the end of the time before they were shut down,
Yeah.
they switched to the 16-inch to marry it to the 12 that was there because
Correct.
it's faster.
Yes.
I don't know what they were going to do when they restart the thing.
Thank you,
But-
Marty.
But in the meantime, the best we know is they're going to start next month, but they're not guaranteeing anything. And to tell you the truth, this is my own opinion, I don't think they know. But because there's too many parts going on,
I
there's
understand that.
lawsuits and all kind of things going on. I don't know but Ricky found out, we talked to the people at Sunoco, that's the best information we could get. They would not put it down any further than next month.
Let me turn this into a why we're here tonight. We're here tonight for suggestions and comments from the neighbors. So we're not taking your comment
Thank
to
you.
say, can township do a better job of communicating to you about the beginnings and endings of pipeline activity in the neighborhood?
Thank you, Dave, so I can enjoy my backyard, like everybody else.
Yeah, the schedule.
You're welcome to go over to Marty's anytime you want.
I know he invited me, I just didn't go.
I will say my understanding was, just based on some stuff that I've read, is that I think they're planning on being done, at least the present estimate is sometime in the middle of 2019.
Dave, if I
So we may
could,
be looking
Contract
at,
would have to be extended.
I think, let's save the guessing and speculation alone, because even if they stop, theirs probably predicated upon keep it moving through. Well, we know for a fact that they've been shut down so many times along the way, there's nothing that says they're not going to be shut down when they get restarted so much along the line. So I would like them to get done in East Goshen as soon as possible, if in fact the pipeline's going to be finished. Get in, get done, get out. And however, there's two overriding issues here. One is the pipeline going to be finished, or is the pipeline going to be stopped? I don't know which is going to happen. So the simple fact of the matter is, if you believe that the pipeline can't be stopped, then I want them to go in East Goshen and get out of East Goshen, and our geography, as far as we know, geology, as far as we know, is quite good and receptive to the pipeline. We would much prefer they do directional drilling because it goes way down. We do not want to see open cut in East Goshen because you're talking about 4 feet down, and that's a problem. There's been rumors floating around that they might change from the directional drilling to open cut. We have not heard anything from Sunoco to that regard. I've been asked directly by many people if we would fight that, we would. Because we want them to do directional drilling and get the hell out of here. Restore the ground.
maybe Marty here. Mr. Marty, can I just make,
Next comment. Yeah, Bill.
I'm just going right off of what was published on their marketing material yesterday. The 20-inch pipeline is 98% complete. They'll look to have that done by the end of September, and then the other pipeline won't be done until the following year of 19.
The
But the
investor call
DEP
from last
hasn't
week.
agreed for them to get through Exton on the open trench, the bore technique. I don't see how they can predict when they're gonna be done. It's still up in the air. The DEP
We all agree, Bernie. Okay, next comment, please.
Christie, how are you?
Hello.
Good evening, I'm Christy Marshall from Hershey's Mill. Thank you all for hosting this. It's really been productive. My focus is safety first, last, and always. And David quoted Eric that our safety professionals who are first rate in Chester County know what their job is. But the problem is the rest of us do not. The citizens will not know what to do. There is no plan. And so I wanted to, with Caroline, when you presented the proposal for the risk assessment at the last meeting, you mentioned that one of the important components will be a certain amount of money to allow for training. And I'm really focused on that being a large element for the citizens, so that we can plan evacuation so that all of us will know what to do. And so if there is a committee formed, as has been suggested, as a regular committee that would be meeting monthly, if that could be a large component or a subcommittee of that, so that it's so specific that if there is a leak or a break, whether it's at night, what do you do? If it's snowing, what do you do? If it's 20 degrees, what do you do? Where do you go? It has to be so specific with every possible contingency so that everyone knows what to do, because there's almost no way to be contacted. So you almost have to know, we have to have it printed, we have to have it distributed, we have to have practice evacuations. So I'm hoping that'll be very much in the mix. Thank you.
Thank you, Christie.
Thank you.
Next, come on up. Come on, Nick.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening. Nick Batista, 1428 Quaker Ridge. That's in Hershey's Mill. I have the pleasure of abutting the Hershey Mill site. I do a pretty good job, I think, of complaining about noise and vibration. But tonight, I came here with two additional things, and Bill brought up one of them before I had a chance to, and I appreciate it, and that's, not to be too personal, but I'm starting to get lung issues. And I believe it's irritated, if nothing else, by the fact that there's 2 drills drilling behind our house. And I'd like to ask the township that when they're monitoring the noise and the vibration to maybe start including the air monitoring. All the EPA stuff we heard here tonight, yeah, it talks about spills and all that stuff. Nobody once mentioned air quality. Bill, you're the only one that brought it up, and I think it might be an issue too.
I believe that is a concern that we're, David, that we are definitely starting to work on.
Okay, and I hope we'll be able to keep talking to you. The other thing was, with all these safety things, it's all good, you know, evacuation plans and all that stuff. Just my thought is, what the hell does that do to our property value? Nothing good, that's right. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Just a real quick comment. For those that don't know, Nick has done a wonderful job testifying for us with respect, because his house was the one that we filed citations on with respect to the Sunoco thing. He's been part of the group that's testified. He's done a tremendous job in doing it, representing all the residents. Who's next? Anybody? Come on up. Oh, there we go. I knew you were going to do that.
Marty, spoiler alert, it's not going to get finished, by the way. I wanted to touch on the whole complaint. Oh, sorry, Melissa Di Bernardino, 1602 Old Orchard Lane.
We all know you, but.
In case you wanted to know where I live, there you go. For the whole formal complaint thing, thank you guys very much for petitioning to intervene. I think that's really, really important, but with Senator Denneman's complaint that I'm more than grateful for, it focuses very much so just on West Whiteland, and we need complaints outside of that. So my huge ask is that you guys file your own formal complaint. That would be, I think there's a lot to go off of, all safety issues, and that would be enormous. I'm trying to think of, it was stated with the decision they made to let Mariner 1 start running again, that that decision was based off of evidence put in front of them for a very small section. And it had nothing to do with their views on the safety of the pipeline as a whole. I think it's how, I'm sorry?
It was about 1,200 feet.
Okay, out of 350 miles or so. So, there's a lot more to be looked into with formal complaint, and I'm begging for your help with that. If you can please file that. Thank you. And also support the risk assessment, because that would actually help a lot with the complaint. Thank you.
Bernadette. Anybody? Is there another person? Raise your hand. Come on up.
Donna Shuey, Millbrace Lane. Piggybacking on...
Is it related to David?
But we're two separate entities.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying.
David, did you just get blasted?
So piggybacking on Nick and what Bill and Lex said, we talked about, Sunoco keeps saying they have all this transparency, and someone mentioned putting up the PSIs every day on the board, and Nick talked about the air quality around the drilling and everything. What about the air quality and air monitors around the valves?
Around the valves?
Around the valves. So maybe that's a possibility, and that's something that can be posted just like the PSI, so that there's kind of an early warning system there, along with the odorant that was mentioned. A lot of people are saying online that it's very expensive for them to remove the odorant at the end, and that it would make the product not appealing to the buyers. But we don't know that for sure. So that would be something worth looking into. So you'd have the odor, you'd have the visual, and then you'd have the air. So that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Donna. Next, come on up. Oh, we're fighting for space.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. This is awesome. I have a question.
Wait a minute, you gotta go through.
Jane McLaughlin, you know who I am, 615 Meridale Drive, Westchester, East Goshen.
New resident?
Yeah, new, real new, 40 years new. I have a question. Do you know if anybody, or any township people, or any of our senators or representatives are bringing up in Harrisburg to finally have a law put into Pennsylvania for pipeline siting?
Bill?
I know there are a couple of requests for additional comments, but I don't know specifically on the siting. I mean, we can get an answer to that quickly, but I don't want to say anything off the top of my head. I know the siting's been discussed, but more or less, we'll have an oversight committee and commission that would have siting authority.
And I would suggest that we have some legislators here, perhaps Representative Comita has some insights on that.
Well, we'll get back, this is what David doesn't want me to do, until we don't want to answer any questions. We'll get back to you with the answer. I know Carolyn's here and she'd love to say something, but we're not going to go that direction right now. Now, let me make one point. For those that want to stay, some of us will stay, I'm sure Carolyn might stay too, so you can come up and ask afterwards, but we want to end at 9:30 for the benefit of all the people that want to leave.
Okay, well, what about the suggestion, not only our representatives, but how about if all the townships get together and, I don't know, put some kind of pressure up in Harrisburg? Because there's only 2 states in the whole country that we don't have laws for pipeline siting.
Yeah, I can address the issues, how we might go about that.
Okay, thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks. Anybody else? Oh, yeah, I forgot. This is my favorite hairdo.
I'm Kay Whittle, and I live at 1626 East Strasburg Road. Probably going to mess this up, but I just want to say that I want you to support the risk assessment. I want you to support the inspector. And I don't quite understand, and we'll get some clarification about, I know we were talking about communication and what can we do, and you said that one of the things that we could do is to use the township in order to pass along information, but it has to be factual. But you've already said that all the supervisors support or agree that the NGL does not belong here. So I'm not sure why that can't be part of your statement. I don't know why you can't express that along with this other information that you're passing along. And I don't want to live at the mercy of the least informed citizen in this township. So I do think we have to figure out some way to get this. If we're going to have a pipeline, I believe that Karen Clitta said it has to be the safest pipeline we can get. And so we have to have a plan to make sure that every individual is contacted. Because the first thing you do is jump in your car or turn on your cell phone or grab something out of the basement and turn on the light. So that's just unreasonable to think that the population in our township will do that. So, and I think that's it's my major concern. So please don't put us at the mercy of the least informed people around. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? What up, please? Sure.
I just wanted to address that. I mean, the term, as I mentioned before, the term safe or the term safest has no meaning in an objective sense. There are degrees of risk, and risk can be measured in terms of consequences and probability. So this has been helpful for me, at least, in thinking about this pipeline, is what is the degree of risk, and it can be measured. Those 2 elements of risk can be measured, but when you're talking about safe or something like the safest pipeline, it doesn't mean anything objectively. So I encourage to think about risk in those terms.
Thank you, Eric.
John Fetcher, 221 Cheshire Circle, White Chilies. I think this is a great gathering. I'm very encouraged seeing this. My only thing is, I think it was a little slow coming. You know, this Mariner is a big project going on, but we're not stupid. We know other ones are in the works. Our community has had meetings with other ones that are in the pipeline, so to speak, that are in the works. I think we have to learn to be more proactive than reactive. This is just my opinion. I think we were sitting on our hands a little while. We kind of got caught with our pants down. They're knee deep into this operation where we're really getting some traction. So I think what we have to do is, we all know they're coming. It's like the Martians, they're coming. Okay, we have to be aware of it. We have to stay on top of them, and we have to be very proactive to let them know that we're not a cheap date. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? You know, one by one, we're going to get everybody up there.
I'm Bernie Ebersol, and 210 Rochester Road. I'm not like Flores. we were the fortunate ones to get the first round, as everybody called us and said, what are you building down there? And,
Are you afraid of that microphone?
Okay.
You're walking away from it.
Okay, thanks. So I heard a lot of great things tonight, and what struck me most is the amount of information disseminated by a number of these groups, and from townships to townships. And I almost think there could be a Dropbox orientation to this. You may not be able to stop some of the things now, but I think time can be your ally, especially from our political friends here behind me. The pressure should be on to get that moving forward, to get a filter in the front. And so you guys have been great from the township perspective. And whatever anybody's typically did, your hands were somewhat tied too, because it's all coming down to you. And I think a lot of people that I've talked to here in our neighborhood, I'm a 40-year person here, we're really pleased, but you can't do it all. And so you have all this great information, disseminate it, move it, see what works, see what the townships go, and give them the fuel for the next round, at least for the next round, because they're coming, right? The next rounds are coming. So let's start here and let's put some pressure in a nice way from the political side, so let's get this stuff. There should be no reason why we're only one of the two. I think the last is the other one, if I'm not mistaken, in the country that doesn't have those resources that can filter that right at the top.
And let me, and I know, Marty, you don't want to get too deep into responding to things, but I do want to...
You're a guest, you're allowed.
Well, I do want to let you know that, Marty has been, and I don't know where he finds all the time to do all the stuff he does, but he's, aside from being on CATO, which is an organization of Chester County elected officials, they have a subgroup that Marty's involved in on the pipelines. And they're putting together a lot of information. He and Ernie Holling and a bunch of other folks are really doing a great job putting together information. They're trying to essentially create a clearinghouse of information, and then once that's put together, I think the goal will be to try and disseminate that out and get some momentum and take that up to Harrisburg.
Good, I think it'll be good. It's a great event, thanks.
Thanks for the comment. Fair disclosure, Mark's on the same committee. We love lawyers. What up? We're doing really well. We're doing fantastic, folks.
Debbie Fetcher, 229 Cheshire Circle. I just wanted to try and clear something up for myself. So you all say you're in agreement that you feel that this is a bad thing. Will anybody be coming forward to say that the board feels that way?
Well, we said that was...
No, I mean, like, will you put it out on the website? Or, okay.
It's
The only reason I'm asking, I know, right? Live
It's on live
broadcast.
streaming now.
The only reason I'm asking is because we live in this, maybe to our detriment sometimes, in this politically correct millennial age, where people sometimes are just afraid to say how they feel. And I'm seeing that on the back end with my neighbors and family that all live in the surrounding areas. Nobody wants to be the one that comes up and says, I don't want the pipeline. I don't think it's good. And nothing against anybody on the board, but when it first came up and I got involved about a year ago, my neighbors and friends and everybody, they had that same view. It was that you can't fight City Hall, our hands are tied, and nothing against anybody, but I kept hearing the board isn't a good old boys club and you can't get in there. And I'm new, relatively, to East Goshen. Right, I'm from the city, so I'm from Philly, and a spade's a spade, I call it like it is. But when I was hearing stuff like that, I was like, no, you can fight it, and people sometimes just need to educate themselves. Now I'm fighting my neighbors, okay, because a lot of them don't realize, and maybe a lot of the board doesn't either, but like the development that we live in, a lot of the homes are built on natural springs. And when the homes were built, the foundations cracked. Now, if the foundations of the houses cracked from the springs, when they were building the houses on top of the land, what's going to happen to it when they're drilling in pipes that are 50 feet from their backyard? Like, has anybody considered that? And I'm totally uneducated, and I'll be the first one to say it. I have no idea. I don't have enough knowledge or education to preach or anything. It's all questions. But most of my neighbors are sitting back with, you can't do anything. You can't fight City Hall, you can't go against the board, you can't, it's almost like, I can't explain it. It's like they don't want to hear it. So you want ideas for how to get it out there and spread the word better? Maybe if we go with some of the ideas on having some of these smaller committees where each development or each neighborhood or area had smaller meetings, it might work better. And then we could get more information to more people. You know, when I first came to my homeowners association with the issue of the pipeline, everybody was like, what? Pipeline? I thought they were widening the road. I thought they were putting in sidewalks. I thought they were putting up a fence to protect the deer. Okay? These were just some of the things I heard, and I was like, no, they're not. So I think the best thing we can do is just individually, even just as public citizens and, you know, Debbie Nobody, just get out there and talk. And obviously I can talk, so I'll talk too much, but that's my thing, is I think some of these small committees would be
Let me say again to anybody, we will be happy, some of us will be happy to stay. Lex will tell you that some of us are very straightforward and blunt. And you will find out that what you thought you knew is not what the reality of the situation is. But we'll be happy to go into weeds with some of the things that David summarized, some of the key things that we're doing. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that's not there that people should know. Now, how we get that out is a different ballgame, but if people here tonight want to stay, we'll stay.
Yeah,
But we want to make
okay.
sure, that we have 10 minutes to go. I just want to make sure anybody who wants to make a comment, makes a
Can I
comment. Come on up.
can I ask a follow-up question?
Who said that?
Sorry, that was me.
Oh, I thought there was someone in the back.
No, my question is, so do you have the pipelines are being put through white chimneys and you have springs, underground springs and white chimneys?
One of my neighbors' home was built, our homes, some of them are built directly on springs, fresh springs, underneath the houses. The foundation of the house broke and cracked. When they were building the house, he got money back from the homeowner, from the home builder, because the foundation was cracked. Okay, because there's springs under there. Now, I've got 4 neighbors who've been trying to sell their houses for over a year. And like, people don't really realize that if your house can't sell, then my house can't sell. And if your house sells for $200,000 less than it was valued at, then my house is valued at that. So this affects all of us, not only the people that live directly on the pipeline like people think. It's all of us. It's the community.
Okay, I'll talk to you more after. Thank you.
Gotcha.
Hi, my name is Linda Reese. I live at 433 Beaumont Circle in Beaudry. I have to admit, I was very surprised about the pipeline. I couldn't believe, like, how did I not know about this? And I have been keeping myself informed, and I think this is what the community needs to be doing. And if there's any way that we can improve the communication. As a matter of fact, I didn't know about this meeting. I happened to be voting. And I spoke to a neighbor, and I just mentioned the pipeline, and she told me there's a meeting, and that's why I'm here. So, and I did attend a meeting, I guess it was about a year ago. It was the emergency management meeting. So I felt that was very informative, and meetings like this are very helpful. I think the feeling of being powerless is overwhelming, and that's what struck me. And every day, going to work, coming home from work, it's just a nightmare, you know, visibly seeing the change in our beautiful communities. So it really is a disgrace. So there's very little I can do, but I certainly would be willing to volunteer in any way to help promote education or, just anything I'd be willing to do. What I have done personally, though, is I boycott Sunoco. There are so many Sunoco gas stations, so it's very hard to do these days. Not just in this area, but in other places. I see all these gas stations being converted to Sunoco gas stations. So I've been doing it. It's worth the inconvenience. It makes me feel a little bit better. So
Did you sign up for Constant Contact for East Goshen?
No, but I did hear about that.
Okay, because that is what we have a problem getting the word out. And we've tried as best we can. And even our agenda our agenda has, at the end of it, has signing up for Constant Contact and also for the Ready Chesco. Tell all your neighbors, please, beat them with a newspaper
Well,
to sign up for Constant
I
Contact.
will sign up for that. I actually do not feel that the emergency management recommendations or planning, that I felt that it was useless. But it sounds as though, I mean, I do agree with a lot of the recommendations about, you know, the residents being informed and knowing what to do in such an emergency. Daily local news, that's how I keep informed. Almost every day there's an article there, editorials, so I feel that's also.
Well, I hate to say this, but I read it, chose to go to Westchester tonight and listen to the borough council as opposed to coming here tonight. And I know the former mayor of Westchester is sitting back there just waiting to say something. But I want to Bill made a choice, and I think there's something going on in Westchester tonight, so we went there. So I'm not sure. He will probably call me and ask how the meeting went, and they're going to have to rely on my recollection of the meeting is most likely what's going to happen. Or it could be. But anyhow, thank you very much. Boycott, anybody else?
Can I just say something while the next person is coming up?
Oh, there you are.
To your point, and thank you for speaking up, it's so important to tell people and to try to use the power of your persuasion with your neighbors why they need to care. And so I would ask everyone in this room who has made the commitment to come here tonight to go home and commit to telling 10 people and trying to tell them why they should care, why this is different, why this is unique, why this is important, why this risk is something that we should not bear, why this community shouldn't be ravaged anymore. To the air quality comment, that is a real concern. So Sunoco loves to talk about how bentonite is non-toxic. In fact, last week in the PUC hearing, the pipeline safety expert talked about how bentonite is used to cure diarrhea. That was a new one for me. Having said that, bentonite comes here to the construction site in pellet form, in dust form. And the bentonite that is used, the barricade that is used in dust form is a known carcinogen. It is carcinogenic. And so that's a real concern as they're cooking it up. Now they're mixing it with water and for the drilling fluid. But the reality is it's coming here in that dust form, and they're sweeping the streets twice a day, but it's being kicked up and it is being put in our air. And so there are many, many safety considerations, and the health safety consideration is very real.
Listen, I don't want to stop you from talking, but it's 9:30 or thereabouts, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank you folks, because we've been very fortunate to have meetings here, and the people have been very respectful of one another, and the people that are doing whatever's going on up here. And we really appreciate that, and you get a lot more information that way than when you have all these catcalls going on. So I want to thank you. I certainly want to thank our guests tonight.
Yeah.
It's been terrific. David, because of his past experience, knew most of the people that we should have here, and they were kind enough to come, so we really appreciate that. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get all these people together. But for the benefit of those that are here, effective the first meeting in June, we will be streaming our meetings from that point forward.
Right.
I know that people here have been begging for that. We got a couple things to wrap up, and we should be ready for our first meeting, which is tomorrow.